Avengers Secret Wars has drastically changed from what it was originally supposed to be. Originally, Marvel Studios announced Kang Dynasty and then Avengers Secret Wars. But what if I told you Robert Downey Jr. might have always been planning to come back to the MCU as a villain? Because it sounds like most of what Secret Wars was originally supposed to be has been changed, but some of it has remained the same. One of those parts is Robert Downey Jr. returning. Now, of course, Marvel Studios really changed their plans when they announced that Kang Dynasty was no more, Kang was no longer going to be the villain, and Robert Downey Jr. was going to return as Doctor Doom. But some parts are still going to remain very important, and also some parts Marvel Studios are going to completely get rid of, according to some insiders. So let's not waste any time. Let's go through what the original plans for Secret Wars were supposed to be. We already heard the first part for Kang Dynasty. We did a video on that a while ago, but basically in the original ending of the Kang Dynasty, the Beyonder and Kang had created Battleworld by merging multiple timelines and realities. They are kind of the same person in this film. You might remember some of those old reports stating that there would be a Beyonder Kang. Well, that is reportedly what was going to happen. So he ruled this new realm, Chronopolis, as its supreme leader. The surviving heroes, because there were surviving heroes, and Avengers, including Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider, Deadpool, Wolverine, the Fantastic Four family, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and Miss Marvel are imprisoned by the Beyonder and Kang, who reveals that each of them has a prime variant, the greatest version of themselves in the entire multiverse, with Tom Holland's Spider-Man being the prime Spider-Man destined to defeat Kang. Meanwhile, He Who Remains, so this is a different person, not the same Kang that's ruling, but He Who Remains, a heroic Kang variant, and Doctor Strange rally the heroes in Battleworld to fight the Beyonder and reclaim the Negabands and the Ten Rings. So, right off the bat, kind of one thing for sure that Marvel Studios has abandoned right here is prime variants or anchor beings. We have actually heard not too long ago from insider Alex Perez from thecosmiccircus.com who stated, yeah, Marvel has abandoned the whole anchor being concept. And I think that's probably for the better. I think there was a way that they could have maybe have used the anchor beings to restore their universes, maybe, because that's what we kind of saw in Deadpool and Wolverine. But we lost the anchor being to Deadpool's universe, Logan, and then they did some things, and all of a sudden the timeline wasn't dying again. So they were going to tie anchor beings in there somehow. It could get kind of messy. I think simply using power sets like the Scarlet Witch and Franklin Richards and maybe Loki to restore the multiverse are the best way to go. But regardless, it seems like the anchor being concept and prime variants are donezo. They're probably just going to focus on the main characters that we've known over time, and then, of course, older legacy characters like the X-Men. But then the second part is the Negabands, or the bangle that Kamala Khan had, and now Kamala Khan and Captain Marvel have one each, and the 10 rings. I'm sure they're not going to ignore these entirely, but before, they were very heavily leaning into this being Kang tech. They teased it really heavily. Now, they might simply just be weapons. The post-credit scene for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, the rings were sending out a beacon. That beacon was originally supposed to be going to Kang. Could it be going to Doom now? Sure. Could it still be Kang tech? It still could be, because Kang still did exist in the MCU. They're not erasing what happened before. He's just no longer the main villain, and it sounds like really no other Kangs are out there anymore, or He Who Remains, or Victor Timeless, or whoever. It could be Kang tech. It could be Doom tech. We'll have to wait and see. This one we're kind of unsure about, but here's where it gets really interesting. And I think fans might have actually really liked this, and I think they did get a page from Multiverse of Madness here. They say, Robert Downey Jr. returns as Superior Iron Man from Earth 818, who conspires to steal the Beyonder's powers for himself. Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson also reprise their roles as variants of Captain America and Black Widow in Battleworld. Pause for a second. I know some people are saying, why would he return as Superior Iron Man as the villain? Well, he's returning as Doom as the villain. And here's the deal. Robert Downey Jr. already stated that it sounds like for at least a year and a half, For at least a year and a half, he was talking with Marvel about returning. Now, at first, when he met with Marvel, I'm sure it just wasn't Doom right away. Right? I'm sure they kicked a lot of characters around. Superior Iron Man was probably one of those characters they kicked around. And in that moment where Kang was still the main villain, sure, this might have made sense. It might have made more sense than Doom. Because if you're not going to bring Doom in to be the ultimate villain, why bring him in? Right? But the whole Jonathan Majors situation happened, and Marvel Studios reportedly said they were planning to move away from that anyways, which would include why Superior Iron Man's going to be a villain in Secret Wars. But the point is, Robert Downey Jr. had been talking with Marvel for a really long time, over a year, before deciding that Doom was the right person to come back to play, and that he was going to be the villain in Secret Wars instead of Kang now. Then Robert Downey Jr. said that he talked to the RUSSO brothers for over a year, trying to convince them to jump onto the movie. And it wasn't until them and Christopher Marcus, Stephen McFeely, their whole team, I know only Stephen McFeely's writing this, but their team basically had a breakthrough and they went, okay, that's the story we're going to tell. With what Marvel has given us, Robert Downey Jr. returning as Doom, let's tell this. Or maybe the RUSSO brothers were even the people who said, hey, let's do Doom. Even though it's been reported that Kevin Feige said, hey, what if we brought you back as Doom? But there were talks about that, is my point. So originally, yeah, I think Robert Downey Jr. was coming back no matter what. The same thing with Chris Evans. I think he was coming back no matter what, because I think they had these talks a long time ago about the original version for Secret Wars. So I think Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Robert Downey Jr., I think they've been confirmed to come back for actually a pretty long time now. They finally just have everything together for Avengers Secret Wars, what it is now. Let's continue talking about what it was going to be. Several pre-MCU actors would have returned, including Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Patrick Stewart, Nicolas Cage, Ian McKellen, and Miles Teller. Additionally, Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen from the Spider-Verse were also being considered. Now, we've actually heard about this. Kevin Feige has said we can bring Miles into the MCU after Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out from Sony. So perhaps they were just kind of waiting to see what happens there. But, I mean, everything else kind of checks out based on how it is now, right? Patrick Stewart returning. We've heard that Nicolas Cage is going to return for a cameo. Miles Teller, that's interesting. He might be playing the Maker. It's still in our new version of Secret Wars. We'll have to wait and see, but I don't know. It all kind of lines up a little bit, except for the Superior Iron Man part. It says Superior Iron Man ends up helping stop and kill Beyonder Kang, absorbing his powers. Now, possessing the powers of the Beyonder, Superior Iron Man betrays the Avengers and heroes. Big surprise. This sets up a climactic battle between the Chosen One, the strongest anchor being in the multiverse, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and Superior Iron Man. Now, right away, I gotta say, I would have really liked this, because I still really like the idea of Tom Holland's Spider-Man seeing Doctor Doom looks exactly like Tony Stark and going, Mr. Stark. We could have had that here too, especially if he's in an Iron Man suit, right? And that might have been even more emotional, because he's still Iron Man in this scenario, right? He's not a completely different character. He's still Tony Stark. He's just kind of an evil version of him. I think that might have been kind of cool to see. And I think the manipulation could have been there as well, saying, hey, you know, I'm a Tony Stark variant. And they're going to say, yeah, he's just like the Tony that we knew, right? Like his heart's got to be in a good place. Like he's got to be a good guy. Bam, switches on him, turns on him. All of a sudden, Spider-Man's the one to fight him. I would have liked to see that, but I still like it as Doom, obviously. And it continues, and it basically says that it finishes by saying Spider-Man and the heroes win, but the multiverse is still collapsing, so he who remains. And the TVA merge all the dying universes into one, including the MCU, the X-Men universe, and the Fantastic Four universe. The result is a soft reboot that establishes a new continuity where mutants have always existed. The Fantastic Four are the first family of heroes, and some MCU heroes are rebooted/recast. The story culminates with He Who Remains policing the new universe. And He Who Remains is good in this scenario. And this is very interesting, because actually another report from Alex Perez a long time ago said that in the original plans for this, for Avengers, Kang Dynasty, and Secret Wars, they were going to realize that they were in a loop, in a big multiversal time loop. So basically, you go to one universe, ultimately it ends up branching out, multiversal war happens, you win the multiversal war, break it down to one universe once again, and it continues. It just repeats, breaks off again, multiversal war, Winner, one universe. Breaks off again, multiverse, multiversal war. It seems like that is how this ends. Right? The TVA is still there. He who remains, a benevolent, a good he who remains, kind of looks over the entire thing. And then, and until it happens again, that is, until somebody realizes what is happening and views he who remains as bad. Because if you, depending on how you look at Loki, he who remains, if the multiverse, if he who remains was telling the truth, because I know some people think that he was lying, but if he was telling the truth, he really was stopping the multiversal war and protecting the sacred timeline. So for him to be another, and I would say better version of himself, more benevolent, yeah, it would make sense that this would be how it ends. And then eventually Marvel would dive into the multiverse again. Now it's going to end somewhat in the same way, because we know that in Avengers Doomsday, Doom is going to take several timelines and basically put them together and make Battleworld. And then when we end, that'll pretty much be the universe that is the new universe moving forward. So it'll be a combination of all the universes put together. That's going to be the same still. The only difference is basically they decided, hey, let's not go with Superior Iron Man. Let's go with Dr. Doom. And we're just going to get rid of Kang altogether because of what happened with Jonathan Majors. And again, they reported that they were thinking about moving away from Kang anyways, even before Quantumania, which I just can't really believe, because He Who Remains / Kang was amazing before Quantumania. He had moments of amazingness in Quantumania, like when they showed him obliterating universes, but then they had him defeated by, you know, Hank Pym and ants and everything like that. He should have just obliterated them. Granted, he didn't have all his tech, but I think most people agree that that movie wasn't handled very well. But regardless, they moved away from Kang. They moved away from Superior Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr. is back as Doom. And we're getting somewhat of this script. There are some things that are going to be in the script, but this is what it was going to be before. What do you think about this? Would you have enjoyed this, or do you like where we are at now with Secret Wars based on what we know and what we know about Avengers Doomsday? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest Avengers Doomsday, Avengers Secret Wars, or Marvel news. And you can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.